Well, thank you very much for staying. And obviously, this is our favorite part. Need I repeat it? That with the audacity of camera, I can enter anybody's office and anybody's home and ask questions that ordinarily you won't ask. And that's why we are here. Folks, we've heard stories about grass to grace, grass to hay. Most of our stories are grass to grace. Today, we're going to hear a story about grace to grass to grace. And I think it's very inspiring not to give up. And there's this notion that, well, if you're born with a silver spoon, then hey, I think, you're not going to be a fighter in life. But we are going to hear a story about, a silver spoon family who still stood on their 2 feet and made something even greater than what they inherited. And that's also an inspiring story. And that's why I am here at the Association International School, right at the airport. And I'm sure most of you would know it. If you stayed in Accra 5 minutes, you would have known Association because it's the landmark to direct anybody anywhere within the airport residential area. And I'm here to talk to the one and only Mrs. D, Mrs. Audrey Doryumu. But we all call her Mrs. D, so she's going to be Mrs. D. Mrs. D, you're welcome.
Thank you.
To our show, and we are welcoming ourselves to your school.
Thank you. Welcome to Association International School.
Great. And I must say that I was blown out the first time I came through here. I've driven past it a few times. Yeah, I've seen that it's been spruced up. But when I drove in, I was blown away. So congrats.
Thank you. Thank you.
But before I even come to how it turned out today, I want to go all the way back and talk about George Emmanuel
Amwanyamke.
Yes. What? Because he started the school.
Yes.
But he wasn't like an educationist, was he?
No, he wasn't.
So what was the whole idea?
Well, when we were children, my dad had, as all his children, in different schools. I remember I was at Rich Church. One of my siblings was at Christ the King, and then others were in other schools. So for him to just drop us off every day was a chore, and it was really tough. And he realized that also that there was a need for quality schools, and he polled a few families who were in the same predicament as he was, having to drop their kids at different schools, and said, listen, why don't I source for the land? I'll get, the architect, I'll do everything. We're all in the same situation. So let's build a school, and if you will support it, and we can all come in as partners. And they all agreed. And so he went ahead and got A-Lang, who was one of the top contractors, during our time in 1963. And he built the school. And then
as far back as 63?
Yes. Come opening day, September 1963, there were only 8 children who showed up, and 5 of those children were his kids. So here he was with an international, diverse faculty. He had put in all this money. He expected to have about 100 people, and only 8 people showed up, or 8 children showed up, and as I said, 5 were his own. And he was originally named the school Parents Association International School because obviously because of the parents that he wanted to bring on board, and nobody, helped. So in the end, he changed it to Association International School. But by the grace of God, by the end of the first term, the school was really started sort of growing, and it was a success story from then. I attended the school. I graduated from here and went to secondary school.
So which year did you come? Which class?
1963.
No, I mean, like, which class did you come in? Like class 3? Class 4?
I think I was in class 3,
Is
I
it?
think, yes. And our first headmistress was from America, Mrs. Gardner.
Okay.
Yes, and after she went, Mrs. Crosby from England came in.
Okay.
So we had a few, international headmistresses, and then we ended up getting Ghanaians also. But we loved our school. We used to have fan milk at break time. We used to have either chocolate milk or white milk.
Yeah.
And
it came in that rectangular.
Yeah. It came in the rectangular
thing.
And
drink
in
and put
every
it down
class
underneath.
we had prefects who would give out the milk and would take the milk order the day before, and the fan milk truck would come and bring the. It was lovely, and we were a highly sought after school, Association International School.
I want to go back to Dad because I mean. It sounds like a movie I watch where the guy sleeps and he's asked to go and build a baseball field in the middle of nowhere, and he's told you build it and they will come.
Exactly.
So here, as few parents say, oh yeah, go ahead, build a school and we'll attend. And I mean, build a school. I mean, this is not just have a party. We're going to come.
Yeah.
And after all that, 8 children come and 5 are his kids.
Yes.
I mean, was he disappointed?
Yes, he was very disappointed. And at one point, I think he would decide, but my father is a fighter, and I think that's what he's instilled in all his children. We're fighters, and he didn't give up. He found a way to make it work, and it worked.
But what was his profession, or what did he do?
He was a business. Actually, my father is ex-military. He was one of the first 10 to be commissioned during the Gold Coast era, to be trained when Kwame Nkrumah took over, to be trained in the Royal Army. So they were sent to Sandringham to train as officers. So he was one of the first 10 with Kotoka, Utuka, Colonel Slater. Okay. So those were his contemporaries. And when he came back, he was in the army. He actually was moved to go and help build a nautical college. So he was there too, and then from there he started the border guards also.
Okay.
Yeah, which is now, I think, now immigration. I didn't know that till I came back and I found that out. And so he was in the military for some time, and then he retired completely, and then he went into business.
Okay.
Yes. So he was one of he was called, most people in Ghana knew him by GEA. GEA Amoa and Associates.
Okay.
And he had factories and industries like farms and fertilizer plants. He went into different kinds of. People say he was a man way beyond his time. He had that foresight.
I was going to land on somewhere close to that because for his background and what it did, I mean, why did he want like an excellent school, if I may put it?
My father was someone who loved quality. He was, everything he did it well. And he didn't cut corners. And he raised us up that way. We were raised in a very structured, strict, disciplined, household. And you dared not mess around. You would get it.
Where or how was Mom in all this? Is it I told you so, me, a businessman,
yes.
What's this school thing business?
My mom also has, behind every successful man, there is a woman. And my mom was the quiet strength behind steady strength behind my dad. My dad was very extroverted, and my mom is quiet. My mom was also trained in England, taken there to train, and later came in to work at the post office. So she was working at the post office at that time, so she was like a support to my dad when my dad was doing all that. But when the school became very busy and Daddy's factories and businesses took off, he basically turned the school over to my mom.
Okay.
So my mom was the administrator at Association International School, and every student and every child and knew my mom because she would interview them before you came.
How would she be known?
Mrs. Amoa.
Mrs. Amoa.
Yes. So my classmates and all the old boys and girls, they know Mrs. Amoa in her office there, and she knew every child. My mom knows every child who came to the school. It's so funny. Wow. She has a very good memory when it comes to the children of the school, and yeah.
So then that was now playing the peripheral roles.
Yes.
So okay, so
but there was something special that my mom and my dad used to do. Every Christmas, my dad would give every child in the school a present. Every Christmas, and if you see any old alum and you ask them what they remember, most of them tell you about their the milk. There's a monkey bars. There was a monkey bar here. We used to go on that. The Christmas presents that we used to get, and the gem biscuits, and it was fun. Association was fun. Yeah.
Good old days, as they
Good
call
old
it.
days.
Good old days, as they call it. So now all 5 of you left all the different schools and you attended.
Yes.
At what point did you lose the school? Because I know at a point the family lost it.
I think in 1980 the school was taken over by Flight Lieutenant Jerry Rollins. He was then, when that school came, the PNDC era, AFRC, PNDC, they took over the school, and my parents had to flee and go into exile. Actually, my father was one of the first people who was arrested. Yeah. After, and when he came into power, and then my parents had to leave the country, because their lives were in danger. And he took over the school, took over all my father's businesses, our home, his other home. Yes, actually, he put a friend of his in the house. It was this guy, this Lebanese guy, was staying there in my parents' home. Yeah, so that house was taken, and everything. It's like everything. My father and my parents lost everything.
Wow.
Yeah. At that time, I was in school in London. I was at London University training to be. I was training in education to come and eventually take over this school one day from my parents, because I was the one who was slated to take over the school. Yeah.
Okay, we'll come back to parents losing everything, but you, on the other hand, out of the siblings, have been very teacher-oriented. And we always vacate from school and come and help.
Yes. When I was a kid, I used to be the teacher's helper, and one of the teachers, and also I think one of the headmistresses, told my parents that she will be the educator in the family, and she would, So right from the time, my parents, Audrey was the one who was going to take over the school, and Audrey was the educator. And I've always loved children, and I've always loved to teach. I'm an English teacher. I'm a drama teacher. I studied English and drama at London University, and got a joint honors degree in that one, in those 2 subjects. I taught in the Bahamas. I taught in America for the longest, and started my own school eventually in America before the school was then given back by the Kufuor administration. And then my father gave me a call. We got the school back. You're coming home.
Let's go back to, Uncle George starts his school, flourishing, doing well. Suddenly you wake up one morning and they had that with all the funny song.
Yes.
Then you knew there was trouble.
Yes, there's
Then
trouble.
you knew there was trouble.
Yeah.
So they take over the school. How was life there?
Well, I wasn't here, but it was really tough for my parents. And my youngest brother was here because, I don't know, my dad basically foresaw a lot of unrest in Ghana because when I finished, I had no inclination I'd ever end up in England going to university. I went to Cape Coast. I started off at Cape Coast University. But that was when we had the Aluta time, where Mrs. I don't know, was it Achampo?
Yeah.
Yes, and I think I remember one day I was in school when they were sending police and army people to the school, and we left. I called my parents. My father just said, come home. And we were at home universities were closed for some time. So my father just said, no, you're not going to, lose all this time not doing anything. So he basically arranged, and I applied, and I got into London University and transferred straight into London University to complete my education there. And my other sister, Tamine, was in boarding school, but then based on the unrest, my dad said, no, I'm going, so let Tammy come with Audrey. So they put her in a private school, boarding school. And so she and I were there. And then later on, when things really started getting bad, my brother also came, and he started junior college. And then my youngest sister, who was in school also, my father said, no, things were getting bad, so send her. So we were sent, I went first with my sister, and then George followed, and then Dorothy followed, and then Michelle was here with my parents during the time when they were really going through horrible, it was a horrible situation. And my father was arrested, my father was in prison, my mom was going up and down, my father had to be put on trial. It was really bad, and but my father managed to escape, and then my mom, knowing that they would come after her, she left, and then my brother followed. So
eventually the whole family.
So we all ended up in England. Yeah.
Wow. Was there anybody taking care of property at home, or you just left to the mercy of God?
We had the mercy of God. We had to leave because my parents had to leave because, if my father hadn't left, I think he'd have been killed.
Wow. For how long before the migration home started?
30 years, 25 years. I was more or less, the school was taking between 25 and 30 years. It was taken from my parents, from the family. So after 25 years, when Kufuor came back, then my father, immediately Kufuor won the election, my father packed off and, he packed off and said, I'm going home. He wanted to come home. He loves his country. And, I had moved to America then, and I had convinced my mom and dad to move to America because they were in England. And so they had just moved to England, to America, and were settling in when Kufuor won the election. And Daddy just packed off and said, I'm going. He just came like that. Yeah. And when they came, the house was still not in their hands, right? So my dad had built a house from his mother in Elmina. So my brother, the one who comes after me, came to Ghana and refurbished that place. So they went and stayed there. And then gradually, when they got the Commission for Reconciliation came in, and everything was turned over to those whose properties were confiscated, including the school. My parents got their house back, and when they went in there were plates from the presidential, Rollins used to go there and detain his friends. Today he'll say he doesn't remember, but that's where he used to go. Yeah.
Isn't that history? So what became of the school during that period?
Oh my goodness.
And we'll flash some pictures before and after pictures on the screen.
They said they were going to make it a model school. The Ghana Educational Service took it over, and it became a model school. But when you talk about the school went from grace to grass. Wow. Even grass is a better word, grass is green. Yeah. It really was bad when we came and saw the school and the condition it was in. It was horrible. Yeah. Like any government school, nothing is taken care of. Maintenance is out of the window. The conditions of the classroom, red dirt, paint scraping off the walls, the roof in the ceilings in the classrooms were all broken and some hanging. Desks were all broken, and they were kids. When I came to visit, I basically, I wept. The kids, they packed them into classrooms as if they were sardines,
Let me take a quick break and come back, because I'm just trying to find out when I come back. The school really ran down as it was, even though I hadn't been here before, but association still had its name. Why? Don't go away. Well, the highs, the lows, the highs and the lows. What a beautiful story. But Mrs. D, you see, you're describing the school when it was taken over by government and how run down it is. Indeed, we've shown the pictures on the screen, so that's the evidence. I grew up in Dansoman and I went to Martin de Porres. But we heard of association. I mean, we knew the Bewa family that came to association.
Yes.
And so what kept the name association then? Because you'd expect by this time the name would go down with the school.
You see, when you build something out of the heart and you want to do good by people, and you build something of quality, and the programs that were put together in this place, the academic excellence. Let me give you a story. When people couldn't get into association during our time, that's when they went to GIS. Association was a highly sought after school. We were academically tops. We won competitions. I mean, what didn't we do? And we produced stellar alumni. Patrick Ewa from Ashesi University came here. Loretta Lamte, former Shrag head, came here. Comfort Okran came here. Alex Mold came to association. The list goes on. Dr. Gloria, oh gosh, I've forgotten, but she's one of the foremost doctors in the health, came here. Associations alumni is something to talk about. We don't boast about it, but as I said,
maybe you should start.
For me, I believe that God is as I say, that this school is for God. We're a Christian school, and God says that we shouldn't boast always, but you know what? The name still rides high. So
that's what kept the name, the foundation.
The foundation established. That's what kept the name.
It must have been a blessing, because you taking over, I mean, honestly, it's amazing, because people would think it's always been like this. No.
We were a primary school before, pre-K through class 6, and then we graduated from here. We would go to secondary school. But right now, association is a pre-K to 12 school. So we are early childhood, primary, lower secondary, and upper secondary. So up to, and now we're a boarding school now.
What?
Yeah, and we're an IB World school. We do Cambridge, and also IB. We're an IB World school. We do the diploma program. So we've expanded it.
That's from grace to grass to bigger grace.
Yes, to bigger grace. God's hand is in it.
Grace to grass to bigger grace.
Yeah.
Well, I realize that you are very strong in your faith.
Yeah.
Is it from that mom, from the family? Because you're very...
Yeah, but also when I was in secondary school, that's when I got into the SU, and I guess the Lord found me, but throughout my life, I kept on going back and forth. And I remember when I was about to make the journey to Ghana, I went on my knees and I told the Lord that, I rededicated my life to the Lord, and I said, Lord, I'm coming here. My hands, my life is in your hands. This is what you want me to do. Don't ever leave me. Don't let me go. Even if, I mess up, don't let me go. And he's been good. He's been good. The Lord has been my strength. Yes.
We can't. I don't want to leave Mr. D out of the story. God bless Mr. D. I mean, when you came and it was all in tatters. I mean, he spruced the school blue just for sanity's sake.
Yeah.
Spruced the blue. But at the time, it was still a public school. So just spruced it for them.
When they gave the school back, the deal was that we would keep the kids, the public school kids here, and phase them out gradually. So when I came from England, from America to come and see the school, the condition of the school, I was so appalled, and I told my dad, you know what, I can't come and take over a school with kids. I'm an educator. I can't run a school and
Broken facilities.
and not with such facilities and not do something about it, because I can't see my kids or children in classrooms like this. So within 2 weeks, my father agreed, and then within 2 weeks, my husband's an engineer.
Okay.
My husband oversaw the complete, as he calls it, the initial phase to clean up the school, tar the red dirt from the kids, because the kids' socks would get red. And we painted the whole school blue and fixed the broken rooms, fixed the roof, fixed desks, did what we had to do, and then we opened within 2 weeks. And the GES teachers were amazed, and some of the parents were amazed, and they were appreciative. But we had our problems with the PTA, because the PTA fought us, because they had ulterior motives. They didn't want us to get the school back. They didn't want, us to do what we had agreed with the Ministry of Education to do.
It wasn't going to be public school
So they
anymore.
started giving us problems.
Oh.
And in the end, I just went back and I said, you know what, we've tried, find somewhere else for them. And they did, and we closed the school down. And my husband brought in his friend who was the architect, Ralph Sutherland, and completely refurbished, the school.
So how long have you been in full control?
We opened the school in 2011, September 2011.
Okay.
Yes, the new association, we opened it in 2011. They gave the school back in 2009.
Okay.
And we closed the school at the end of 2009. So for 2010 to 2000, the school was closed. I wanted to have it closed so that people would see that the school was closed, so we could start over. And that's what we did.
But it seems, when you opened up again, was it difficult filling it up?
We started off with 45 children. By the end of the first term, we were up to about 80, 90 kids, and we've been growing since. But it was difficult for me because I came with the notion of a quality school, and I said I want to give parents a quality school where kids could come and get top-notch education. And I told my parents, I don't want you to go get tutoring from outside, we will do it. So when we opened the school, every room had an iMac. We had a few interactive whiteboards. We had a completely state-of-the-art computer lab. We had a cafeteria, kids, we had trays. I was raising standards because for me, we have become used, as a country, to mediocrity. And for me, mediocrity is not good enough. We have to raise standards to make sure that our kids can compete.
Sorry to come in. Those who knew association to be public school, now you've come in, you've raised the standards. Obviously, you raise the numbers. Did you have that shock? Oh, it's a public school. Why do I want to send my kids there?
We initially, when we started the new association, and even now, some people still think that we are a public school. So but we're the best kept secret, because people walk around or drive around, and until they walk in here, and then they tell us, wow, they're blown away, because we have everything. We have the fields are green, we have courts, we have the classrooms up to date, it's clean. I want to show people that it can be done. We can't aspire to send our kids outside all the time, but when we have everything in our country and we can make it worthwhile and the best, we have to compete globally. We have to. And if we don't do that, we will leave our children behind. If you look at what's happening outside, it's complete mayhem, anarchy, people drive all over. There seems to be no respect for the law. People drive through traffic lights. You see people, who are not disciplined. And here we have three things that we rest on: the Christ-centeredness, the Christ factor, the discipline, and the academic rigor. With those are the three tenets that we rest on as a school, and it's been worth the while. It's worked, and if the way we were brought up as children, we were brought up with structure. We were children. We didn't aspire to be adults quickly. Let's give the children that. Let's give them the joy of enjoying their childhood. We've got so many distractions now. So in this school, we don't allow kids to bring cell phones or iPads or whatever. Because we provide it in the classrooms. We have a user use policy. We have, technology. Every classroom now has a interactive whiteboard or a smart board. We're now upgrading to LED screens, Let's give the kids what they need to compete with kids outside, and I want the children from association to be beacons of light and to be examples. Our mission says we're raising leaders, learners, and ambassadors of Christ for the glory of God. So what we do, we have to do it well, because whenever you do anything for God, you have to give him your all, your excellence. He's a God of excellence.
It's a tricky question, but let me ask you anyway. If a child comes in here of Muslim faith or Hindu faith or Sikh faith, how are they able to fit in the Christness?
Okay. We're a Christian school. I say we're unapologetically a Christian school. If you choose to come to association, you understand that we're a Christian school. So we welcome students of all faith, but we're a Christian school and we're not going to change that for anybody. So when you come here, we worship, you will worship with us, and we explain it to the parents, and they don't mind. We have kids of international backgrounds here, of different faiths, they don't mind. But if you come and you say, no, whatever, we say, look, there are other schools there. We have schools that are Muslim schools, we have an Indian school, we have
There's the Mankarata
yeah,
too.
whatever. So you can choose to go there, but we're not secular,
Okay.
and we're not ashamed of who we are.
Okay.
And so far, to God be the glory.
It hasn't been an issue.
It hasn't been an issue. If you come and you do, because we do a rigorous admission process, and I meet with every parent and student. That's something that I do because, for example, one thing I find is that Ghanaian men or men in general don't like to be involved that much in their children's education. So when I meet with the parents, especially the fathers, I say, listen, I want you to be involved in your child's life, especially for the girl child. Because you know what your child will become will be dependent on his or her relationship with you. So we even have a father-daughter dance that we organize as one of our activities, and the parents come, and I always have to write my parents and tell their fathers that I want you to be here. You need to come and support your daughter, and it's a good bonding experience.
Any excuse to get them involved.
Oh yeah, and we have a great family. We are a family. I say we're a community of learners, and we're all learning, and the parents are very supportive, and I like my family.
Now, since I'm throwing challenges at you, the public school teachers have got a way in which they operate. And I'm listening to you, and it's not a very public school operation. Was there a conflict or a banter between changing from the old ways to the new ways?
Well, we're an international school, and we are a true international school because a lot of schools in Ghana call themselves international. But when you go in there, they're not doing best practices. They're not implementing, international curriculums. They're not only that, but for me, it's not just the curriculum. It has to be the mindset, the attitude, the international mindedness, the way you teach and children, the way you treat children. This is one school where you come, you'll find kids are bold. They speak their mind, but they are respectful. There's order. The teachers are encouraging, they're nurturing. We do a lot of professional development. I train my teachers as well. We're blessed with a rich faculty and varied faculty, diverse, and people come in and do training, and some of our own do training. So we send them out also. When we were going through the IB authorization process, we had to send our teachers out to go and do courses. We do online courses. We host professional development seminars here. So for me, we need to understand that we are living in a global village, and for us, we have to understand that standards have to be raised. So that is why it's important to me. Professional development is so important to me, and my teachers understand that. They bought into the vision of the school, and they are a phenomenal group.
Were there some that, because I mean human beings are resistant to
Oh
change.
yes, it was
Were there
tough.
some that said, "Oh
Yeah.
no"?
Initially, when I started, I had to get rid of 20 teachers in one year. Yes. Because you know what? I don't believe in bad teachers. If you don't buy into the vision and you come in just for the money, it's not good enough. So for me, I'm not afraid to change. I always tell people we're a dynamic environment. We're not a static environment. Change is good, but not all change is good, but good change is good. And if you come and you don't fit in, you'll go. But that's not the only thing. I sometimes also pray them out, you know. I tell the Lord to bring me his people who have a heart for the children, and sometimes, you know, I just get this whiff that this person is going to leave because I just get that feeling. And I pray that the person should go. And then they come and put their letter of resignation down. And I just,
Hallelujah.
thank you, Jesus. You know? Yeah. Yeah. But it's been a good journey. It's been hard because you are changing attitudes.
Yeah.
The cleanliness, the standards, you know.
Well, I know Dad is with, you know, Abraham and God now smiling at you. But how proud is Mom?
Oh, Mom is proud. Mom is proud. When we opened the school, when we opened the gates, we had an opening ceremony, and my dad was here. So my dad saw this, and my mom saw this, and they were here. And my dad would come and sit under that mango tree, and my mom would also come sit there and just sit there and enjoy the senior and enjoy the kids and everything. And when we opened the school, we invited Kofi Annan, the late Kofi Annan, God rest his soul. He came here with his wife to inspect and to visit us and to sort of usher us in. And he was quite impressed with what we did.
Take a quick break. Don't even go. I'm coming straight back. Well, thank you very much for staying, and what a beautiful story. But Mrs. D, you know something? I said there's a silver lining in every cloud. I mean, taking over that school for 25 years, I mean, have you found any silver lining, or it's just been, by now it would have been a university, or you look back and think, you know what, there was a blessing in there somewhere?
There was a blessing. When I left England and when I got married to my husband, Mr. D, in England, and we went to the Bahamas, and then from there we went to the United States. And every year I prayed that we would get the school back because I didn't think I was going to stay there for that long. But then year after year, after Rawlings winning an election, I said, forget it. I'm not coming back, and we're not getting the school back. And so what I did was God blessed me. I started a school in America.
Yes.
And that school sort of prepared me for what I'm doing today. So when I look back, the silver lining is that, you know, there's a time for everything. Ecclesiastes said everything in God's own time. There's a season for everything. My season, I guess, was that I wasn't supposed to come and take over this school immediately, but that God provided the funds, God provided the expertise and the training through what I did. Because now I look back and I say, I couldn't have done this if I had just left school and come here. The ideas, the experience that I came with, the vision that God gave me for this school.
Spotting the lazy teachers. The ability to spot the negative ones.
Exactly. For me, I think, that was God. And having done this, I sit back and I say, wow. And he gives me the ideas. Because we started with pre-K through to grade 4, grade 5. And then every year we added on. We didn't start poof and say we're going to do, no. But so because we did that and we added on every year, we learned. We learned to see what sort of environment we were in, what were the needs, what we needed to do. And if I tell you that how we've gone through the accreditation process, it's been God, because the Cambridge accreditation we got to be a Cambridge school happened by having a conversation and showing the man, he came to visit, just to visit. And after he went and had a conversation with me and we showed him around, he came back and told me, you know what, you people don't need to go through all that, you're ready. We got it just like that. And then when we decided we're going to do IBDP, with the IB, they're very, very rigorous and rigid in terms of what they want. And being a Christian school, we said, wow, are they going to give us the authorization? But how we went through it, we prepared, and we then researched other IB Christian schools, and we did our homework and everything. And when they came in, they were so impressed with what we were doing. We got commendations and everything, and we got it. So that's the silver lining, that, God is with us, and he's been the foundation of the school. I tell my teachers, my parents, my students that this is God's school. And all my kids, if you meet a child and you say, how are you? They'll tell you they are blessed and highly favored.
Isn't that cute?
That's it. We are blessed and highly favored. Yes.
Have you done all of this more to do?
No. We're going to go on to a university one day.
Association in university.
Yeah, we've got the boarding now. We're building up the boarding. Mm-hmm. We're a day and boarding school now, and our boarding is growing. But I want to bring kids from outside of Ghana, the diaspora, from African countries. I want to give back. And when my dad died, we started a scholarship foundation.
Oh, okay.
In his name, the Colonel Georgiama Scholarship Foundation. And we bring in kids from very disadvantaged backgrounds. We started with 5.
Okay.
And today they are part of our first group of IB cohort class that's going to graduate in June. And some of them are full scholar. Oh my goodness. A stars, 100%
Whoa.
in the IGs. One boy got 100% in math. Yes.
And he wouldn't have gotten that opportunity had it.
No.
Wow.
When you look at them and you look at where they came and you look at where they are today, I'm going to say some of them are going to go to MIT and Harvard, and that's where they're going to end up. They're brilliant kids. And these are our future leaders of tomorrow.
And they're from disadvantaged backgrounds.
Yeah, these are the kids in the villages and whatever, and who come from school system, the GES schools, the JHS students who, they, like what I found here, where they were sitting in broken down classrooms, maybe 100 to a teacher, they were being instilled with fear instead of being nurtured to think out of the box. But these are the kids, but they did well. We gave them a chance, and they are prefects. They are prefects in the school. They are leaders. They are learners. They are ambassadors of Christ for the glory of God.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're brilliant kids. I mean, their IGC results were phenomenal. A stars, A's.
Now, I see Mr. D very hands-on, but he's an engineer.
Yes. He's my go-to person. He's my sounding board. He's the one, I'll say, the wind behind my sail.
Okay.
Whenever I need anything done, he takes it over. He renovates the place. He brings in the people. He oversees it. We're doing a renovation in the cafeteria. He's overseeing that. Weekends he's here. He's always around, going around. This morning he took the electrician to go and buy things to come and, you know, build up the generator. One of the generators broke down. I mean, he's my go-to person. Yeah, he's my best friend.
Isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely? With flat pictures of Mr. D, you see him very, very, very noble, you know, very Mr. D. Very Mr. D. I mean, I must say it's wonderful. You know, I've driven past here, and so are many people who have driven past, but haven't ever bothered to come in. So is it full, or can people still come in? Are you full up now?
We are. We're hoping we're not full, but we have some classes that are full.
Okay.
But we want to fill up all the classes, and I want to actually fill up the dorms. We have 25 boarders now,
Okay.
but we have a capacity for 100.
Okay.
Yeah, and we started it 3 years ago, so slowly we're growing. But we also have weekly boarding, meaning that your kid can be in boarding Monday through Friday, go home, come back on Monday, and start school again.
I would have loved the boarding school like that.
Yes, and it's a state of the art. It's modern.
Okay.
It's not the sort of boarding that we went to. You know, they have a kitchen area, an eatery, study rooms, the dorms. The bathrooms are beautiful.
Good supervision?
Oh, good supervision. They have 3 dorm parents each. So we have a resident supervisor who oversees the boarding program, and then we have the 2 dorm moms and the girls. So they all live with the students. Some live on the floor with the students, some live downstairs. And then in the boys' dorm, we have 3 dorm parents, the dorm master with 2 assistants. So they're there. And they help them with homework, study. They come here to eat. Weekends, we try to do different things with them. That's
do you have to go home on weekends, or?
No, we have full boarding, and we have weekly boarding.
Oh, weekly boarding.
So we have older kids, like the examination class, like the IB kids are full boarding. And then the younger kids from 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, they're like IG1 and IG2. They are like weekly boarding, but if a parent wants their kid to be weekly boarding, we say yes. But when it comes to exams, we'll tell them you have to stay and convert to full boarding. Yes.
Just looking at the pictures of the old derelict, and I'm looking at it now.
Yes.
And I'm just thinking that that's a good work done. I've interviewed lots of people, you know, and it's almost, you know, we started with nothing and got something. Started with nothing and got something. And I love this story because, you know, we started with something, we lost it, and we fought back and made it even bigger. And made it even bigger. I hope children who come here will be inspired, because it's believed that those with a silver spoon are not fighters.
Oh yes, yes, they do. They do. For me, one thing that my parents did, especially my mom had me go to, my father was an old Achimotan, so my 2 brothers went to Achimota, and I got into Achimota, but my mom wanted me to go to her alma mater, St. Monica's. So I was sort of carted away all the way to Ashanti Mampong. And I think that what I learned and what I got there is what grounded me also. Humility is very important. For me, you know, when my dad we had everything, but even though we had it, my friends didn't know my parents were that rich. Because I was one kid, when I was going to boarding school, my father would ask me how much money I wanted for pocket money. I'll say 5 CDs. And some people say, oh, you're so foolish, you're so foolish. You know, for me, money is important, but it is not everything. Life, love, what you do with what you've learned and garnered, and you've got to have a passion. And for me, education is my passion. Children are my passion.
Quick 30 seconds. Your other siblings, when they come in, you know, what do they say?
They love what they see, and they're supportive. My brother, George is funny. He's named after my dad. We call him Podgy. Podgy will say, as for me, I can't do what you've done, you know. And Yeah, he's a
You are
big
the,
fan of
you're
mine.
the
Yes.
educator of the family.
Yeah.
Well, all too soon, folks, that's what time would allow us. But as you can see from the pictures, that's a story that, listen, even if you're born with a golden spoon, you know, work hard and get a bigger golden ladle. You know, leave behind a golden ladle if you were given a golden spoon. And that's the story we had today. I always give you the number. It's 024-366-2001. 024-366-2001. And that's Tanti's Fashions. They give me my shirts for the show, so give them a call. But until I come to you with a different personality, have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful week. Thank you so much, Mrs. D.
Thank you, Nana. Thank you so much.